All right, back for practice number 11. And Adam, a little bit different today in that they gave Mel Tucker the day off from talking to us, and he probably needs a break from us. But Jay Johnson, the offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, came to the podium today, and you and I both kind of recently talked to him. But what were your impressions of his press conference today?
Well, one thing I asked him was about the running back rotation, because we've seen a running back rotation not work very well here at Colorado. When Clayton Adams was the running backs coach, it seemed like no running back ever got in a rhythm. Jay Johnson didn't really go that in-depth on it, but he did mention sometimes you do want to ride that hot hand, which I think if you're a Colorado fan, that's what you want to hear. There's not a lot of separation between those backs right now. So if one guy's got it going on a given day, you got to kind of roll with that guy. So that's one thing I took away.
Yeah, he mentioned because it's hard because there are some backs that don't really get rolling until they've gotten in a rhythm. And, going back to when Clayton Adams was a running backs coach, Phillip Lindsay was that type of guy. Right. And they'd kind of rotate in Phillip, and I know it was frustrating for him because he was a guy that needed some carries to get going, but he wouldn't really have that chance during that season. So it'll be interesting to see how they do that. I mean, I still expect Deion Smith, Jaron Mangum, and Alex Farmer to be the guys. It'll just be interesting to see how they rotate those guys.
And Jarek Broussard's name's come up a little bit. He's a different back, kind of a little bit more of a shifty back, brings some quickness there, some versatility. He was a guy that played almost a slot back role in high school. So we'll see. I mean, you want those guys to stay healthy, obviously, but that might kind of work itself out throughout the course of the season too, based on who stays freshest, who stays healthiest.
Yeah, Jay Johnson mentioned just offensively things are coming along, and he's obviously not going to reveal a whole lot about what's going on offensively, but it sounds like guys are starting to get it a little bit, and that this offense is, they're not quite ready to go, but they're getting there.
We've heard from both coordinators the biggest challenge they have is being multiple and unpredictable, but at the same time not outsmarting yourself and having guys on your offense or defense confused. So both Jay Johnson and Tyson Summers have mentioned that as something. And then Jay Johnson talking about Steven Montez today, saying, hey, the physical tools are there. That's not what I'm worried about. He's been challenging him mentally, and I think for Steven, on the bad side, as Jay Johnson mentioned, this is his third quarterbacks coach, third offensive coordinator. At the same time, though, you can learn something different by having a different voice in that meeting room. Right. So hopefully that breeds good results for Steven this year.
At least when I've talked to Steven in the past, I mean, I know he really loved Kurt Roper, but when I talked to him in this offseason about Jay Johnson, he was excited. He said, it is three different voices, but I get to learn from three different type of people. And so at least the way he said it, it sounds like he was embracing that challenge. And, all quarterbacks, Steve and I talked about this summer, that you could be a 10-year vet in the NFL, you're still learning things and trying to get the mental part of the game down. So, those fans that want to see these polished guys, there's not a whole lot of college quarterbacks that are super polished. And Montez is, I think he's coming along, and if he gets the mental game, takes another step or two, I think he'd be pretty good.
We've talked about it. I feel like he was the least of their problems the last 2 years. Yeah, there's moments where he made stupid decisions. But another thing, too, I'm really anxious to see the tempo they play at this year. We've heard Jay Johnson and Mel Tucker talk about how they want to vary their tempo. Obviously, last year they wanted to go high tempo all the time. I think a lot of this stuff, getting the tight ends involved in the offense, varying the tempo, a lot of it has to do, I think, with Mel Tucker's defensive background. He knows what's hardest to prepare for as a defense. And when you have, we might have mentioned this on analysis video already, but if going into a game, they're going to play high tempo all the time, you can prepare for that. So that's one element of this offense I'm really anxious to see out there this season.
Well, I think it'll be interesting, too, because if this defense, I think there's more questions on the defensive side of the ball. And if they're not quite up to speed, then you've almost got to go lower or slower tempo on offense to kind of keep the defense off the field, or at least not make them work as hard. So it'll be interesting to see what they do.
And one thing we know, too, is Laviska Shenault is not going to be run into the ground like he was last year. And again, it's kind of finding that fine line in there, but this staff has been pretty clear about the fact that we want to use his talent to get other guys involved too.
One of those guys being Daniel Arias, who you and I both talked to at the end of practice, and a really nice young man, and really coming along. I just love the way he talks and just his approach to the game. I mean, he talks about. You asked him about, hey, the Washington game last year, you had a big touchdown catch, the spring game. Does that give you confidence? He goes, yeah, but I still got to just keep working. I mean, in the Washington game, he had interesting comments about that.
Yeah, he was, speaking of his work ethic, he was out here working on the jugs machine after practice, and the way he talks, there's no cockiness at all. He's a very humble young man, which I don't know if I was 6'4", 205, and I could run as fast as him. I don't think I'd be that humble, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But hardworking, and I think it kind of went unnoticed how good he was on special teams as a gunner last year.
Yeah.
He almost looked like a man possessed at times, was second behind Bo Bicheret in special teams points.
Yeah.
He is absolutely a physical specimen. I think he gets overshadowed because Laviska Shenault is such a physical freak as well. But I think he's going to be on the field quite a bit. I don't know how you keep him off the field.
Yeah.
We've talked about this too. I think it might be another year until Daniel Arias is a household name in the Pac-12, but it's coming at some point.
He's gonna make some plays this year, but he had the one catch last year, 37-yard touchdown at Washington, his hometown team, and you would ask about that, and he goes, well, I kind of look at that as, it's in the past, and it's something that we remember like it was a nice play, but he's like, whatever, it happened in the past. And so I like his approach. I mean, he's got Laviska has that same approach, and I think Daniel's got that as well. Hey, I still got to work. It doesn't matter what I've done, I've still got to work.
I have no idea why he did not have more scholarship offers coming out of high school, because he actually did the camp circuit. He went down to USC at the Trojans Rising Stars camp and was named the MVP there.
Yeah.
Lucky for CU, obviously, but that's a guy that should have been a blue chip recruit with offers from everybody given his skill set.
Yeah, well, he's going to be fun to watch. And we're pretty sure Laviska's going to be gone after this year, but you still got Daniel Arias. So there's plenty to look forward to with that receiver group. There's other guys coming back as well. But that'll do it for us today, and we'll be back tomorrow to talk about practice number 12.